So let's start with what exactly the Education Minister has been saying. This review, first off, relevant or not?
Well, you introduced me as a former rector of Greenpower, but I would rather like you to introduce me as the founder of Ghana Christian International High School, and we have a wonderful primary school in my village, Filemwasi. Let me tell you that I don't have much faith in so-called educational reviews, which were the previous government or this government. You know that, first of all, the amount of things they ask even the kindergarten and the primary one people to do is mind-boggling. They waste these children's time. In fact, to be honest with you, I have stopped our school in the village, the primary school and the kindergarten, that I don't want them to follow Ghana Education Service Program until my grandchildren are in primary 3. Look, the World Bank describes Ghana's basic education, primary in particular, as schooling without learning. And we have the worst primary school system in the whole world. You hear me? In the whole world. And the reason is this. When children are in kindergarten, P1 and P2 in particular, the emphasis should be on at most 3 or 4 things. They must be literate in the main language of English and hopefully their mother tongue, 2 of them. They should learn how to write and then be numerate. And the third is that they should have an inquiry spirit. They should love school and learning. They love books and the rest. If you lay these 3 foundations, the sky is literally the limit. And I'm not talking out of theory. All my 4 children were literate before they were 6 years old. As a result, they went through primary school, secondary school, university with distinction. My daughter even blew my mind. He went to the medical school in Cape Town. He came out with first class honors distinction. Even myself, I didn't know that there was such a level of excellence. And I didn't have to ever even have to look at their homework. I didn't have to have any afternoon classes for any of them from morning stars to the university because of the foundation of literacy. And when a child is literate, numerate, and love books before they are 7, that's all. And now we are having all these reforms, the syllabi, and so many. You go to a primary school and you want them to do 7 subjects or 10 subjects in primary 1. Are you crazy? Excuse me.
Prof, just before MFA brings in Dr. Peter Anti, just on the back of that, you mentioned the World Bank data, which we've known for a number of years, and the surveys that have been conducted. We have probably the worst primary system in the world. Is that not the very reason for which we should review the curricula?
The review, yes and no. Normally, mark it on the wall. The review will come out with about 10 things to be done again. The type of review is basically stopping all the other things and concentrating on these 3, 4 things in the first 3 years, kindergarten, primary 1, and getting our children this different numeracy. But we are going to tell you all sorts of honest. The reason why last year I decided to set up a primary and start K1 was to demonstrate, because when you talk, you say, oh, your children are special, your friends' children are special. To show, go to the one at Adei, that's the campus, Ghana. We have the time to take people listen. And then, so, yes, in the
Prof, yeah. Unfortunately, your connection is a bit bad. We are losing you slightly. Okay, so, Prof, please try to reposition yourself for us. We'll get back to you shortly because the line is not so good, MFA.
Well, yeah, let's bring in Dr. Peter Anti, Executive Director of the Institute of Education Studies. Doc, thank you for joining us this morning. But let us understand, the Prof has already been giving us an overview of how the situation looks. But paint a clearer picture again and tell us what particularly is the current curriculum lacking and why will the Education Ministry want to cure it? Oh, unfortunately, we've lost Dr. Peter Anti, but we'll try and reconnect and be able to have that conversation with them. But Benjamin, I'm just sitting and asking myself, is it not the same curriculum that I studied? And I'm thinking, did I turn out that bad?
Well, I guess maybe we went through a certain system that could have been better because I've always said that part of what, for me, because of what aggregate I got moving from the basic level, it was thought that I had to read science. I said, no, I am good at some of these, but that's not my area of interest. There are so many things that are wrong, though that was at the BCE level. We are talking KG to primary 6. But I'm saying there are so many problems we have with our system. And some of them, I feel, may not necessarily be necessary, what people have to go through. In other countries, people start focusing very early, Germany, Switzerland, and the likes. But we have Prof back, so maybe we'll go back to him. Prof, let's try to see whether we can hear you better now. Hello, Prof. Professor Adei, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I hear you. I thought that you were talking about the other Prof.
No, that was Dr. Peter Anti. He's not with us at the moment. So
okay,
you were making a point. Yes. We lost the last bit of what you were saying, so you can just go ahead.
Yeah. Listen, because, first of all, interestingly, the day the government had this education forum in the whole, I was coming from our school in Dodowa, and I went to Malcolm, and somebody met me there. They said, oh, are you coming from the education forum? I said, I was not invited. The question is this. In this country, we have people who have done it practically, but they will not consult them. This is just politically, we said we will do it, and we do it. What needs to be done? We know it, but they will not even listen to you.
But Prof, there are so many others. I know of the Professor Hetos and others who are also there, even religious leaders. Can everyone be invited? Just on a lighter note.
Let me tell you, when it comes to basic education in Ghana, it's not titles. And here I'm not talking as a professor, because my professorship in the university is not. We have practitioners, both in the private sector and the public sector, who at this moment, children are being literate. The problem we are trying to solve are being solved in Ghana, and they will not invite those people. So it's not a question of listing people, Cape Coast University, head of department. It's like going to the Bank of Ghana, and the average Bank of Ghana staff has never worked in a retail bank. They don't even understand what they are talking about. So it's a question of identifying people. And in Ghana today, I can tell you, there are schools, even public schools, a few of them, unfortunately, there should be more, who are making it. Let's go and learn from them. Don't sit in your average tower with political power and then think that, oh, we know it all. I don't want to, by God's grace, I don't need anybody's pay. Or my wife and I have just completed 9 books, which every child between the ages of 5 and 7 years, when you use them within 6 months, they are totally literate. I went to the office of the former Minister Dutu and says that, look, this is there. Now we are launching it. We will give it to Ministry of Education for free. Even a PRO was not got to come and listen to it. So there's a difference between education reform and political gymnastics.
Interesting point, MFR. There's a difference between educational reform and political gymnastics. I don't know what your take is on that.
Prof, I mean, beyond the... that's got me over there. But from beyond the suggestion that they want to review, I still want to get your position on it. Do you believe in the suggested review, or you believe that it will just be on paper, but they won't be able to have the capacity to implement it, and that they should engage who we think are the best people to implement it? What is the challenge?
First of all, I have a big question mark about the review process. Some of us have seen from Jobo's review to today. First, the review process. Second, we are going to have a big so-called consultation. That is why what is needed to do is simple. Just get our children in the first 3 years of education, literate, numerate, and love studies. That's all that needs to be. It doesn't require all this paraphernalia going for conferences, stadiums, or whatever it is. The third is, and now let me come back to this, the beating horse, is the teachers. Unless the teachers are committed, and they have all reasons why, the salary is low, we are having schools on the streets. But Rooney, let me tell you, any primary school teacher, within under a tree, committed, can help a child to be literate in 6 months if they want to. And these things must be confronted. We are going to pay people in the village teachers higher and ratings. They are not doing what they are paid to do. And nobody wants to talk about it because there are 450 teachers in case they vote against you. We need to take the bull by the horn. And these things go beyond even so-called education reform.
All right, Prof. Thank you. I now bring in Dr. Peter Enti, Executive Director of the Institute of Education Studies. And Doc, hopefully the network is good now, and thank you for joining us. What's your take on the entire review conversation that's happening? What's your take on it first?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers and listeners. I think that those of us in the curriculum space understand that within a particular period of time, you are supposed to review your curriculum to reflect the dynamics of the time. Curriculum normally, we say, lives its lifespan at a period that is supposed to be run. So if your education period, the years for that particular curriculum is 3 years, it means that after 3 years, you have to take a second look at it, and then you make adjustments to suit the current demands of time. So if you look at when we implemented the current standard base, that was in 2019, it's almost 6 years. Kindergarten to basic 6 is roughly 6 years. So by 6 years, that particular document has run its full period and needs to be taken a second look at. But before you do that, you need to really assess the curriculum in its entirety. Look at the strengths and the weaknesses of that particular curriculum and find out the reasons, if the objectives and the rationale for introducing this curriculum, especially because this was a standard-based curriculum. You have to find out whether the rationale for introducing the standard-based curriculum has been met. It is after that you think about a possible review. I don't know whether the ministry have done anything like that. I have no information about that. Maybe they have done that, and based on that, they would want to take a step further to now review the curriculum. I say this because my biggest challenge with our standard-based curriculum at the basic level is not the document in its entirety. It is, one, the mode of implementation and the lack of resources that the teachers were not having. If you take the document itself and you talk to any teacher on the field, he will tell you that this is a very beautiful document that was developed. In fact, the teachers were even informed that in terms of seating arrangements, the students were going to sit around a table, not how we see it in our classrooms, because there was a collaborative kind of competence that the students were supposed to imbibe. And in collaboration, when students sit around tables, they are able to engage among themselves instead of the desk type that we've been using. These were the things that were in the curriculum: digital skills, critical thinking. So these 6 competencies that WAEC might not be able to measure were still put in the curriculum. Have we assessed to see whether these critical skills were transmitted to the students and the students have been able to imbibe them? And if they were not able to do that, what are the reasons, or what were the reasons that led to us not being able to achieve the rationale for the introduction of the standard-based curriculum? So that is where I would have started from. But as I said, I don't know whether the ministry have done any work in terms of evaluating the curriculum to see the loopholes, so that will inform the review process that the minister wants to embark on.
Right. Assuming the ministry, they have engaged, maybe they are consulting at the moment, and it so happens that the current curricula, really, they haven't been able to exhaust everything that was suggested in there, that the KGs to primary 6 should have learnt or should have exhausted with them. If I understand why at every 6 years or maybe beyond that, a curricula should be reviewed and changed to at least mirror the aspirations of the new set of children or pupils that are coming, would it mean that they have to revisit or stick with the old one because we're not able to exhaust it? Will it still mirror the aspiration of the new set of students?
Let me give you an example. What this kind of evaluation would give us as the people in the education space and even the students is that it will help us understand the mistakes that we've made with the old system so that we don't repeat it. Let me give you an example. When we finished with the primary school, the KG to basic 6, we found out that, and I think you are in the media space, so you remember there was a talk about textbooks. Mm-hmm. This was a learning curve for the ministry and NACA. So when they wanted to do the GHS one, they now decided to do a student manual and a teacher manual. Whereas when they were doing the basic KG to basic 6, they did only the teacher manual. And that is why the textbook issue came out forcefully, because there were no documents for the students to refer to. But that was a learning curve for them. So when they did the GHS one, they did teacher manual, they did student manual. At the senior high school, when we finished with the curriculum, we've done student manual, we've done teacher manual. So when the document is being rolled out, you will not hear the issue of textbooks, because there is a document designed for learners to use, whilst the other private individuals pick the curriculum to develop their textbooks. So what you need to do is to always evaluate. You need to evaluate to see what went wrong, so that whilst you would want to undertake a review, you don't repeat those mistakes. I would have wished that this evaluation would have been the first step. So if there is a committee to set up, that committee would have or should first and foremost look into how far we were able to achieve the objectives of the standard-based curriculum. How far were you able to implement the 6 competencies of the standard-based curriculum? Then find out what challenges teachers face in the implementation process, so that when they kickstart the review process, they would not repeat the mistakes that the first implementation process encountered. That is the only way we'll be able to achieve maximum impact with the implementation of any curriculum that you develop. Else, we will go back and repeat the same mistakes that we have held over the years. And the teachers on the field will tell you that the problem will not be so much about the document being reviewed or not reviewed. The problem will be about the availability of resources that they would need to be able to implement the curriculum. You want students to engage in digital literacy. You want students to have digital skills. How many of our basic schools in this country have access to internet? How many of our teachers are competent enough to deliver digital literacy to our students?
Now, since you've made mention of all of these, my question, though, now that there's going to be this review, what would be your expectations? What are you hoping to see in there? Prof said earlier that, look, we piled too many subjects, too many things on these pupils. What should we be focusing on in a review like this?
Oh, no.
Dr. Anti, all right, it appears we're having some challenges with him. Prof, if you're still with us, could you take a bite at that?
Come again.
Yes, I'm saying that if you're still with us, and you are, what then would be your expectations? You've spoken about this basic level and what the pupils should be focusing on rather than 7, areas of study or 8. What would be your expectations or your proposal as far as this review is concerned? What should the focus be?
Well, having spoken about my skepticism about what will come out of it, what is needed now is a certain narrow, and I say narrowed, type of basic competencies in the first 3 years of our education. The kindergarten, primary 1, and primary 2. The first is to have the right instruments, and some of us have developed it, which will allow every normal child to be literate both in English and his mother tongue in the first 3 years. And numerate and enjoy studying, just loving to explore and study. All the other things, for example, if a child asks for, let me use both my grandchildren and my children, at the age of 7 can read 200-page book in 2 hours, then you have little work to do when they are going to learn history, geography. Most of the time is teachers trying to explain what a literate child can read by themselves. So the first, if there's going to be any serious review, for me, it should rather strengthen to these 3. The rest, let them draw, let them play, let them enjoy school, but make sure that these 3 competencies, language literacy, numeracy, and an inquiry spirit, at that level, you are not talking about critical thinking and all these big things that my fellow academics was talking about. When a child enjoys studying, loves books, and read by themselves, the sky is the limit. And I'm not talking theory. I have practiced it. Right. I can take you now to Ghana Christian International High School, ABC campus, which is a CEO Brothers campus in Fremwasi. That's why we call ourselves Seven Brothers, CEO Brothers. And you will see kindergarten people literate. And not only there, it's happening in a lot of even CITO, that means 4 private schools.
Right.
And a few selected schools. The other day I went to the Baptist school in Asafo. I was so impressed. But the capacity of KG2, and let me tell you, all the rest, and that will require you also ensuring that teachers don't sit down and get you don't have the instruments and other things. They have enough. If they have been trained a proper teacher, the instruments you need is so little.
Okay.
For example, when it comes to language, it's using cards. And don't worry about diphthongs and other things. The word cards, once they learn the word cards, in English language, 100 words form 50% of our language speaking, non-technical language. And 1,500 words makes one totally literate from primary 1 to university.
So, Prof,
a normal child can learn all of them in 1 year. And we are wasting time with this. And even when you say,
that's
where the trouble is.
That has been the mantra sometimes in politics. But we're grateful for your time, Professor Stephen Adei. MFA?
Yeah, we'll take a final words from Dr. Peter Anti. And whilst you're at it, you may have seen our Crumbling Start series. And I want a specific answer to this question. Whether or not we need a new curricula or good infrastructure, what's the pressing need currently?
Thank you very much. I agree largely with Prof. Where I would differ a little is that the teachers do not need much. The teachers need a lot to be able to implement whatever document is given them. In fact, if you travel and visit schools like you do, your series that you run, you would agree with me that the teachers needs a lot to be able to implement whatever curriculum or whatever document that is giving them to implement. So I think that one of the things we have to understand is that we can't do one after the other. So we need to touch the curriculum as the minister wants to do. At the same time, I think that a lot of focus should be on providing the adequate resources, creating the conducive environment to deliver a quality education. That should be, for me, the most important thing. Once they look at the curriculum and try to fix the challenges in it, the focus should be on providing an adequate educational environment where students will be able to express themselves, where students will have a lot to play with, where students will be taught with the requisite materials that they need. And these things needs to be provided. If we don't do this, we'll do another review. And another government might come and they would also want to do another review. Whereas the basic problem of resources and infrastructure remains. And I think that the minister should give adequate attention to the provision of resources to public basic schools across the country, not just those in the bigger cities, across the country. It should be an equity something where those who do not have are given more so that they will be able to match up with those in the cities.
Right.
But for the review, I think it's something that we need to do, but we should go through the processes of first evaluating the present curriculum to know the deficiencies so that we can fix it when the review begins.
Dr. Peter Anti, thank you so much. He's Executive Director of the Institute of Education Studies. And Benjamin, that will be a wrap on that conversation. Got something to tell me?
Of course, the AM show is proudly sponsored by Waylead Properties. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and with a flexible payment option. But let me also tell you about CompuGhana's Easter sales. Exclusive Easter sales promotion, and this is happening now in all CompuGhana branches from now to the 30th of April. You can get up to 50% off when you purchase top brands like LG, Samsung, TCL, HP, Lenovo, Techno, Infinix, itel, and many more. You could also win an 85-inch smart TV, iPhones, laptops, juicers, rice cookers, and so much more. So shop for laptops, printers, mobile phones, television sets, air conditioners, home theaters, fridges, and many more. With a minimum of 1,000 Ghana cedi purchase, you could enter this draw by simply texting your invoice number to the special short code. The raffle draw is on the 2nd of May. So now shop online at www.compughana.com or visit any of our showrooms and you will experience something amazing. You can call 0302 752 020 or WhatsApp 0243 143 143.
All right, are you ready to dream, dare, and deliver in the world of IT? Look no further than Jackson Institute of Technology, the only NIIT authorized training center in Ghana. At JIT, we provide world-class IT training for individuals and corporate organizations, equipping you with industry-relevant skills in software development, cybersecurity, networking, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, digital marketing, and more. We offer globally recognized certifications, practical job-ready training, and flexible hybrid learning options, which allows you to study online or on-site. Our expert instructors also ensure hands-on learning experiences that prepare you for success in today's digital world. Conveniently located on the Ring Road in Near Circle, the heart of Accra's Central Business District, and in Kumasi at Jackson Educational Complex HQ, Ayedwase near KNUST. JIT provides easy access to students and corporate clients. Our state-of-the-art auditorium is also available for corporate events, seminars, and training sessions. You can call or WhatsApp JIT on 0596996037 or 0596996038 or 0552714635. Or better still, for more information, visit them on www.jit.edu.gh. JIT, your gateway to a thriving IT career. You're watching the AM show. We'll just go for a quick one. Please stay with us. We'll be back for more.